I found the messages on a Thursday afternoon, and in the 5 seconds it took me to understand what I was reading, my entire life collapsed into something I no longer recognized. It wasn't supposed to be like this. We were supposed to be the couple that made it. 7 years of marriage, 9 years together total, and I genuinely believed we had figured it out. We had the house with the blue shutters that I'd always wanted. We had Sunday morning pancakes and inside jokes that made us laugh until we couldn't breathe. We had plans, real plans, for the future. A baby, maybe 2, growing old together, all of it. His phone was on the kitchen counter when it buzzed. I wasn't snooping, I swear I wasn't. I was making lunch and his phone was just there, and the notification lit up the screen. I glanced at it without thinking, the way you do when something catches your eye. And what I saw made my hands stop moving. The preview was enough, just those few words visible on the lock screen, enough to make my stomach drop, enough to make me pick up the phone with shaking fingers and stare at it like it might suddenly make sense if I just looked harder. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. My husband, Marcus, was upstairs in his office on a work call. I could hear his voice, muffled through the ceiling. That warm, confident tone he used when he was explaining something to a client. The same voice that told me he loved me every single day. The same voice that promised me forever. I unlocked his phone. I knew his passcode. It was my birthday. He'd never hidden it from me. We didn't have that kind of relationship. We trusted each other, or so I thought. The messages loaded, and I stood there in our kitchen, the sandwich I'd been making forgotten on the counter, reading through a conversation that made me feel like I was drowning. Weeks of messages. Months, maybe. I couldn't tell. My vision was blurring, and my chest felt tight. But it wasn't just the betrayal. It wasn't just the fact that my husband had been lying to me, sneaking around, breaking every promise we'd ever made to each other. It was who the messages were with. My brother. Daniel. My little brother. The person I'd protected my whole life. The person who'd lived with us for 6 months last year when he was between jobs. The person Marcus had claimed to barely tolerate, always complaining about how Daniel left dishes in the sink and stayed up too late playing video games. My brother. I read the messages 3 times before they started to feel real, before my brain could actually process what I was seeing. I miss your hands on me. We need to be more careful. She almost caught me looking at you yesterday. I've never felt like this before. I didn't know I could feel like this. They were in love. Or at least, they were deep in whatever this was. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't a drunken hookup that spiraled out of control. This was an affair. A real affair. With feelings and longing and plans to see each other again. My husband and my brother. I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode if I moved too fast. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely manage it. I stood there in the kitchen, surrounded by all the normal things of our normal life. The coffee maker we'd gotten as a wedding gift, the photos on the fridge, the grocery list in my handwriting stuck to the wall, and I felt like I was standing in a stranger's house. Everything I knew was wrong. Everything I thought I understood about my life, my marriage, my family, all of it was built on lies. Upstairs, I heard Marcus laugh at something someone said on his call. That easy, genuine laugh I loved. The laugh that made me fall for him in the first place when we met at a friend's barbecue 9 years ago. How long had he been lying? How long had they both been lying? I thought back to last month, when Daniel had come over for dinner. He and Marcus had barely spoken to each other all night. Marcus had seemed annoyed, making short comments about Daniel needing to get his life together. Daniel had been quiet, withdrawn, picking at his food. I'd chalked it up to stress. Daniel had been going through a rough patch, struggling to find steady work, dealing with his own demons. Now I understood. They'd been acting, putting on a show for me, and I'd bought it completely. I thought about the weekend 2 weeks ago when Marcus said he was going fishing with some guys from work. He'd left early Saturday morning and come back Sunday evening, tired but happy. He'd kissed me and told me he missed me. He'd brought me flowers. Had he been with Daniel? I thought about all the times Marcus had to work late. All the times he said he was going to the gym. All the times he was on his phone, smiling at the screen. And when I asked what was funny, he'd say, "Just a meme," and show me something random. How many of those times was he texting my brother? The sound of footsteps on the stairs jolted me back to the present. Marcus was coming down. I grabbed a dish towel and pretended to be drying my hands, trying to look normal, trying to breathe normally, even though my entire world had just shattered. He walked into the kitchen, smiling. God, he looked so normal, so much like the man I married. Dark hair slightly messy from running his hands through it during his call. Gray t-shirt and jeans. Wedding ring on his left hand. The simple gold band we'd chosen together. "Hey babe," he said, walking over to grab a water from the fridge. "Sorry that call ran long. You making lunch?" I stared at him. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. What was I supposed to say? How was I supposed to even begin this conversation? He noticed. Of course he noticed. He knew me too well. "You okay?" he asked, his smile fading. "Emma? What's wrong?" "Your phone," I managed to say. My voice sounded strange, distant. It was buzzing. His eyes flicked to the counter, where his phone sat. Something crossed his face, just for a split second, but it was enough. Fear, panic, guilt. He tried to hide it, tried to rearrange his features into confusion, but I'd already seen it. "Oh," he said. "Okay, was it work?" It was Daniel. The color drained from his face, just drained right out, like someone had pulled a plug. He stood there, frozen, one hand still on the refrigerator door. "Emma," he started. "Don't," I said. My voice was shaking now, and I could feel tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Not yet. Don't lie to me, please. I've read the messages. I've seen everything." He closed the refrigerator door slowly. He looked at the phone on the counter, then at me, and I watched him realize there was no way out of this, no excuse he could make, no story he could tell. He stopped, started again. "How much did you read?" "Enough," I said. "More than enough." We stood there in silence. The kitchen clock ticked. Somewhere outside, a car drove past. Normal sounds, normal life continuing, while mine fell apart. "How long?" I asked. "How long has this been going on?" He ran a hand through his hair. He looked sick. Good. He should feel sick. 6 months, he said quietly. 6 months. Half a year. While I was planning our anniversary dinner. While I was talking about starting a family. While I was loving him with everything I had. "Since when he lived here?" Marcus nodded. Barely. Just a tiny movement of his head. "You slept with my brother," I said, needing to say it out loud, needing to make it real. "In our house. While I was, what, at work? Asleep?" "Emma, please. Answer me." "Yes," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." The apology felt like an insult, like it could possibly be enough, like sorry could fix this. "Are you in love with him?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, and that was answer enough. "Oh my God," I said. I backed away from him, hitting the counter behind me. "You're in love with my brother. It's not that simple," he said, and now there were tears in his eyes too. "Emma, I never meant for this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe that." "I don't have to believe anything," I said. My voice was getting louder. "You've been lying to me for 6 months. Why would I believe anything you say?" "I love you," he said desperately. "I do love you. This doesn't change that." I laughed. It came out harsh and broken. "You love me? You love me, but you've been sleeping with my brother behind my back. You love me, but you've been lying to my face every single day. Do you even hear yourself?" "I'm confused," he said. "I'm so confused about everything. I didn't know I could feel this way about a man. About Daniel. It just happened. And then I couldn't stop it, and..." "You could have told me," I said. "If you were questioning your sexuality, If you were having these feelings, you could have talked to me. We could have figured it out together. But instead, you went behind my back with my own brother. Do you understand how betrayed I feel? It's not just the cheating, Marcus. It's who you chose. My brother. The person I love most in the world besides you. I know, he said. I know, and I hate myself for it. But Emma, I never wanted to hurt you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Then why did you do it? I was crying now. The tears were falling and I couldn't stop them. If I'm so important to you, why did you destroy us? He didn't have an answer. Or maybe he did, but he knew nothing he said would make this better. Does Daniel feel the same way? I asked. Or is this all you? Marcus swallowed hard. He loves me. He says he's loved me for years, since before we got married. The ground shifted beneath my feet. Daniel had loved Marcus for years? My brother had watched me marry someone he was in love with and said nothing, had stood at our wedding as my best man, had smiled and given a speech about how happy he was for us, and the whole time he was in love with my husband? I need you to leave, I said. Emma, get out. Get out of this house right now. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care, I said. Go to Daniel's, go to a hotel, go anywhere, I don't care, but you need to get out of here before I do something I regret. He stood there for another moment, looking at me like he wanted to say something else, like there were words that could fix this, but there weren't. We both knew it. He grabbed his phone, his keys, his wallet. He walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. I never meant for any of this to happen, he said. I need you to know that. Just go, I whispered. He left. I heard his car start, heard him drive away, and then I was alone in our house, in our kitchen, surrounded by the pieces of our life together, and I fell apart. I don't know how long I sat on the kitchen floor crying, long enough that the sun moved across the sky, long enough that my throat hurt and my eyes were swollen, long enough that the crying turned into numbness, into a hollow feeling that settled into my chest and wouldn't leave. Eventually, I got up. I splashed water on my face. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the person looking back. How had I not seen this? How had I been so blind? I needed to talk to Daniel. I needed to hear it from him. I called him 3 times before he answered. Each ring felt like an eternity. Hey sis, he said when he finally picked up. His voice sounded normal, casual, like he hadn't been sleeping with my husband for half a year. We need to talk, I said. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, Marcus told you. No, I said. I found the messages, but that's not the point. I need you to come over. Now. Emma, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't care what you think is a good idea, Daniel. You owe me this. You owe me an explanation. Get over here. I hung up before he could argue. He showed up 40 minutes later. I watched through the window as he parked his car and sat there for a few minutes, probably working up the courage to come in. Finally, he got out and walked to the door. I opened it before he could knock. He looked terrible, pale, dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. Good. Come in, I said, stepping aside. He walked past me into the living room. We'd spent so many normal times in this room. Game nights, movie marathons, birthday celebrations. Now it felt contaminated, like his presence here had poisoned everything. We stood facing each other. My little brother, 26 years old, 3 years younger than me. I'd always protected him. When kids bullied him in middle school, I fought them. When our parents got divorced and Dad moved across the country, I was the one who made sure Daniel was okay. When he struggled with depression in college, I was the one who drove 6 hours to check on him, to make sure he was still alive. And this was how he repaid me. Say something, I said. I don't know what to say. He replied. His voice was shaking. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I don't know what else. When did it start? I interrupted. Marcus said 6 months, but when exactly? Daniel looked at the floor. February. When I was living here. We were both up late one night. You were asleep. We were talking, and what? You just decided to destroy my marriage? No, it wasn't like that. Emma, you have to understand. I don't have to understand anything, I said. You slept with my husband. My husband, Daniel. The person I planned to spend the rest of my life with. The person you knew I loved more than anything. I know, he said, and now he was crying. I know, and I hate myself for it. But Emma, I've been in love with him since the day I met him. You brought him to Mom's house for Thanksgiving 9 years ago, and the moment I saw him, I knew. And I tried to ignore it. I tried so hard. I dated other people. I kept my distance. But then when I moved in here, and I was around him all the time, and he was so kind to me, so understanding. So you decided to seduce him? It wasn't like that. He made the first move. I swear, Emma, I would never have. Don't, I said sharply. Don't you dare try to put this all on him. You could have said no. You could have told me. You could have moved out. You had 1,000 choices, and you chose to betray me. You're right, he said, his voice breaking. You're absolutely right. I should have done all of those things. But Emma, I've never felt this way about anyone. Being with Marcus, it's like I can finally breathe, like I'm finally myself. And I know that doesn't excuse what I did to you. I know it doesn't make it okay. But I need you to understand that this isn't just some fling. I love him. I really, truly love him. Then you never loved me, I said coldly. That's not true. Emma, you're my sister. You're my family. I love you so much. No, you don't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. If you loved me, you would have protected my marriage, not destroyed it. We stood there in silence. Daniel was crying openly now, and part of me wanted to comfort him the way I always had. But I couldn't. That instinct, that need to protect my little brother, it was gone, replaced by something ugly and bitter. Marcus said you've loved him for years, I said. Since before the wedding. Daniel nodded miserably. You stood up at my wedding, I continued, my voice dangerously quiet. You gave a speech about how perfect we were together. You toasted to our happiness. And the whole time you were in love with him, I thought I could get over it, he whispered. I thought if you got married, if you were happy, I could move on. But I couldn't. And when he told me he had feelings too, when was that? February, that night, we were talking about relationships, about why his past relationships hadn't worked out. And he said something about always feeling like something was missing. And I told him I knew what he meant, that I'd felt that way my whole life. And then we just looked at each other, and we both knew. So you kissed him. He kissed me, Daniel said. But yes, we kissed. And then we couldn't stop. Emma, I swear, we tried to end it, multiple times. We both knew it was wrong. We both knew it would destroy you. But we couldn't stay away from each other. Where? I asked. Where did you... I couldn't finish the sentence. Different places, he said quietly. My apartment, hotels, once... He stopped. Once what? Once here, in the guest room. I'm so sorry, Emma. I felt sick. They'd been together in this house, in the home Marcus and I built together. You need to leave, I said. Emma, please, get out. Get out right now and don't come back. Don't call me, don't text me. I don't want to see you or hear from you. You're dead to me. Emma, I mean it, Daniel. You've lost me. You've lost your sister. And for what? For a man who's married? A man who made vows to me? Was it worth it? He didn't answer. He just stood there, tears streaming down his face, looking younger than his 26 years, looking like the little boy I used to protect. But I couldn't protect him anymore. I didn't want to. Get out, I said again. This time he listened. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the knob. I love you, he said without turning around. I know you don't believe me, but I do. Love isn't enough, I replied. You should have learned that before you destroyed our family. He left, and then I was alone again. The next few days passed in a blur. I called out sick from work. I couldn't face people. Couldn't face their questions, their sympathy. I stayed in the house, in the bed I'd shared with Marcus, and I tried to figure out what to do next. Marcus texted me constantly. Long paragraphs explaining, apologizing, begging for a chance to talk. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Daniel tried calling. I blocked his number. On the 4th day, my best friend Jenna showed up at my door with wine and Chinese food. I know you said you wanted to be alone, she said when I answered. But that was 4 days ago, and you look like death. I'm coming in. I didn't have the energy to argue. I let her in, and we sat on the couch together, and finally, I told someone the whole story. Jenna listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Holy shit," she finally said. "Yeah, your brother? Your actual brother?" "My actual brother. Emma, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. This is beyond anything I could have imagined. Tell me what to do," I said. "Because I don't know. I don't know how to come back from this." Jenna took my hand. "I don't think you do come back from this. I think this is over, Emma. Your marriage. I'm sorry, but I don't see how you could ever trust him again after something like this." "I know," I whispered. "I know it's over. But if I accept that, then what? What happens to my life? We have this house. We have shared finances. We have friends who are going to ask questions. And my family. God, my family is going to be destroyed by this." "One thing at a time," Jenna said. "First, you need a lawyer. You need to protect yourself legally. Then, you need to tell your mom. And then you figure out the rest as you go. What about Daniel? What about him? He's my brother. Am I really supposed to just cut him out of my life completely? Emma, he slept with your husband. For 6 months. In your house. He betrayed you in the worst possible way. If you never speak to him again, no one would blame you. But he's my brother," I repeated, like that explained everything. "I know," Jenna said gently. "And that makes this so much worse. He knew what he was doing. He knew it would hurt you. And he did it anyway. That's not love, Emma. That's selfishness." She was right. I knew she was right. But it still hurt. It hurt in a way I couldn't describe, losing both my husband and my brother in the same moment. I hired a lawyer the next week, a woman named Patricia who specialized in divorces and came highly recommended. She listened to my story with a neutral expression and told me I had grounds for an at-fault divorce. "Infidelity is pretty clear-cut," she said, "especially since you have the messages as evidence. We can get you a good settlement. The house? Definitely. Alimony? Possibly, depending on the financial situations. It won't be easy, but we'll get through it." I filed the papers 2 days later. Marcus was served at work. He called me immediately, crying, begging me to reconsider. "Please," he said, "please don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. Emma, please." "There's nothing to work through," I told him. "You made your choice. Now you have to live with it." "I choose you," he said desperately. "I choose you, Emma. I'll end things with Daniel. I'll do whatever it takes." "It's too late," I said, and I hung up. Telling my mom was the hardest conversation of my life. She came over immediately when I called, worried by the tone of my voice. I sat her down in the living room and explained everything. She didn't believe me at first. She actually laughed, thinking I was joking. But when she saw I was serious, the laugh died in her throat. "Daniel wouldn't," she said. "He wouldn't do that to you." "He did," I said. "I saw the messages, Mom. They've been together for 6 months." She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Then she started crying. My mom, who never cried, who had been the rock our family leaned on through every crisis, put her face in her hands and sobbed. "My baby boy," she kept saying. "What has he done?" She called Daniel immediately. I could hear the conversation from the other room, her yelling, him trying to explain, her cutting him off, the pain in her voice as she tried to understand how her son could do this. When she came back to the living room, she looked 10 years older. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Emma, I'm so sorry. I raised him better than this. I don't know what happened, but I'm sorry." "It's not your fault," I told her. "He's my son. How can it not be my fault?" "Because he's an adult. He made his own choices." She hugged me then, and we cried together, mourning what we've lost. Not just my marriage, but our family. Everything was fractured now, broken into pieces that couldn't be put back together. The divorce moved forward. Marcus fought it at first, kept trying to get me to talk to him, to give him another chance, but I was done. Every time I saw him, every time I heard his voice, all I could think about was him with Daniel. The two of them together, betraying me, laughing at how easily they'd fooled me. The property division was messy. He wanted half of everything, including the house. I fought for the house. It had been my idea to buy it. I'd put down the larger down payment, and I wasn't about to let him take that from me too. In the end, I kept the house. He got more of the financial assets to balance it out, but I didn't care. I needed this space. I needed to be somewhere that was mine. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. 6 months of lawyers and paperwork and dividing up a life we'd built together. 6 months of well-meaning friends asking if I was okay. 6 months of avoiding family gatherings where I might have to see Daniel. I didn't talk to Daniel during those 6 months, not once. He tried to reach out a few times through our mom, asking if we could talk, if I could forgive him. I always said no. Our mom tried to stay neutral, tried to maintain relationships with both of us. But it was hard. She'd invite me for dinner, and I'd ask if Daniel was coming. If the answer was yes, I'd make an excuse. Eventually, she stopped trying to get us in the same room. Marcus and Daniel stayed together. I heard about it through the grapevine. Mutual friends who didn't know what side to take, who felt awkward around me now. They'd moved in together. They were happy, apparently. That knowledge hurt in a way I couldn't describe. They got to be happy while I was still picking up the pieces of my shattered life. But slowly, very slowly, I started to rebuild. I threw myself into work. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during my marriage. I started therapy, working through the betrayal, the grief, the anger that never seemed to fully go away. My therapist, Dr. Chen, helped me see things more clearly. Not to forgive, I wasn't ready for that. Might never be ready. But to understand. Your husband was struggling with his sexuality, she said during one session. That doesn't excuse what he did, but it helps explain it. He was probably in denial for years, maybe his whole life. Meeting Daniel, being around him, it forced him to confront feelings he'd been suppressing. But why did he marry me if he was gay? I asked. He might not have known, Dr. Chen said. Or he might have been in denial. Or he might have thought he could make it work. Sexuality isn't always black and white, Emma. He probably did love you. He probably still does. But he couldn't deny who he really is. And Daniel has his own issues. Growing up gay in a world that isn't always accepting. Watching his sister marry the man he loved. That's complicated. It doesn't excuse the betrayal, but it helps us understand the pain he was in. So I'm supposed to feel sorry for them? No, Dr. Chen said gently. You're supposed to feel what you feel. Anger, betrayal, grief, all of it is valid. But eventually, if you want to heal, you might need to find a way to understand their perspective. Not to forgive necessarily, but to make peace with what happened. Making peace seemed impossible, but I tried. I really tried. A year after the divorce, I ran into Daniel at a coffee shop. It was purely accidental. I was meeting Jenna, and he was there with a book, sitting by the window. Our eyes met across the room. He looked different, older, happier maybe. But when he saw me, his face crumpled. I should have left, should have walked right back out. But something kept me there. Curiosity maybe, or unfinished business. I walked over to his table. Hi, I said. Hi, he replied. His voice was barely a whisper. Can I sit? He nodded, looking shocked that I was even talking to him. I sat down across from him. We stared at each other in silence for a long moment. You look good, he finally said. Thanks. You too. More silence. Emma, he started. Don't, I said. Don't apologize again. I've heard enough apologies to last a lifetime. Then what do you want me to say? I don't know, I admitted. I didn't plan this. I just saw you and I don't know. Are you doing okay? He asked carefully. I'm surviving, I said. That's about all I can say. I think about you every day, he said. About what I did to you, how I hurt you. I know you don't want to hear this, but I need you to know. I regret it. Not being with Marcus. I could never regret that. But the way it happened, the betrayal, I regret that every single day. Are you happy? I asked. He looked surprised by the question. Yes, he said quietly. I am. Does that make it worse? I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me wants you to be miserable, wants you both to be miserable. But another part of me, I stopped, trying to find the words. Another part of me knows that wouldn't change anything, wouldn't give me back what I lost. I miss you, Daniel said, and his eyes were filling with tears. I miss my sister. I miss talking to you. I miss everything. And I know I don't deserve to have you in my life after what I did. But God, Emma, I miss you so much." I felt my own tears coming. I'd told myself I was done crying over this, done grieving. But sitting across from my brother, seeing the pain in his eyes that matched the pain in mine, I realized I wasn't done at all. "I miss you too," I whispered, "and I hate that I miss you. I hate that even after everything, I still love you. I hate that you're my brother and I can't just turn that off, no matter how much I want to." "I'm sorry," he said again. "I'm so sorry." I know. We sat there for a while longer, neither of us knowing what else to say. Finally, I stood up. "I have to go," I said. "Jenna's waiting." "Okay." I started to walk away, then stopped and turned back. "Daniel?" "Yeah? I don't know if I can ever forgive you. I don't know if we can ever have what we had before. But maybe someday we can find something new. Not the same, but something." Hope flashed across his face. "Really?" "Maybe," I repeated. "Someday, but not now. I'm not ready yet." "I can wait," he said. "I'll wait as long as it takes." I nodded and walked away. Jenna was at a table in the back, and when she saw my face, she knew what had happened. "You talked to him," she said. "Yeah. How do you feel?" "I don't know," I said. Confused, sad, but also maybe a little lighter. Like maybe there's a path forward, eventually. "That's good," Jenna said. "Holding on to anger forever isn't healthy. I'm not saying you should forgive him, but finding a way to coexist with what happened, that's important." 2 years after the divorce, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just casual dates, reminding myself what it felt like to connect with someone new. It was terrifying and exhilarating and sometimes disappointing, but it was progress. I sold the house. Too many memories, too much pain. I bought a condo downtown, smaller but entirely mine. A fresh start in a space that wasn't haunted by ghosts of my marriage. I started painting again, something I'd given up years ago. My condo walls filled with colorful abstracts, expressions of emotion I couldn't put into words. It was therapeutic, creating something beautiful from the pain. My mom hosted Thanksgiving that year, and for the first time since the divorce, both Daniel and I were invited. I thought about declining, thought about avoiding it, but I was tired of letting what happened control my life. I showed up. So did Daniel and Marcus. We were all cordial, carefully polite. It was awkward and uncomfortable, and I left early, but I'd done it. I'd been in the same room with them and survived. Small victories. 3 years after the divorce, Daniel called me, not through our mom, not through a mutual friend. He called me directly. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from," he said when I answered, "but I'm calling to tell you something, and I wanted you to hear it from me." "Okay," I said cautiously. "Marcus and I are getting married." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Even after all this time, even though I'd moved on, even though I was dating someone new, it hurt. "Emma, are you there?" "Yeah," I managed. "I'm here. I wanted to tell you because you're my sister. And even though we're not close anymore, I didn't want you to find out from someone else." "When?" I asked. "Next month. Small ceremony. Just close friends and family." "Are you inviting me?" Silence. Then, "Do you want to be invited?" Did I? That was the question, wasn't it? Did I want to watch my brother marry my ex-husband? Did I want to witness the happiness they'd built on the ruins of my marriage? "No," I said finally. "I don't think I do." "I understand," Daniel said quietly. "But Emma, I want you to know, I hope someday we can really be in each other's lives again. Not just at holidays, not just for Mom's sake. Really be siblings again. I know it'll never be what it was, but..." "I'll think about it," I said, "but not now. Not yet." "Okay, that's fair." "Daniel?" "Yeah? I hope you're happy. I mean that. Despite everything, I hope you found what you were looking for." "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "That means more than you know." I hung up and sat in my condo looking at my paintings, my new furniture, my new life. And I realized something. I was okay. Not perfect, not healed, but okay. The betrayal would always be a part of my story. It had changed me, shaped me, broken me in ways I'd never fully recover from. But it hadn't destroyed me. I'd survived. I'd rebuilt. I'd found a way to keep going. 4 years after the divorce, I met someone. His name was Alex, and he was different from Marcus in every way. Open, honest, emotionally available. He knew my story. I'd told him on our third date, wanting him to understand the baggage I carried. That's a lot to go through, he'd said, but it doesn't define you. You're more than your past. I started to believe him. We took things slow. I was careful, guarded, terrified of being hurt again. But Alex was patient. He understood. He never pushed. 6 months into our relationship, he met my mom. She loved him instantly. "He's good for you," she said after dinner. "I can see it in your eyes. You're happy again." Was I? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yes, I was happy. Not the naive, innocent happiness I'd had with Marcus. This was different, deeper, earned. A happiness built on hard-won wisdom and self-knowledge. 5 years after the divorce, my mom called with news. Daniel and Marcus had had a baby through surrogacy, a little girl named Sophie. "I'm going to be a grandmother," Mom said, her voice full of joy and complication. "Isn't that wonderful?" "Yeah," I said, "it is." And I meant it, sort of. It was wonderful for them. It was what they wanted. But it also meant their life together was permanent now. A child bound them in ways even marriage didn't. "Do you want to meet her?" Mom asked carefully. "When she's born?" "I don't know," I admitted. "That feels like a big step." "Think about it," she said. "No pressure. But she's your niece, Emma. And regardless of everything that happened, she's family." Family. That word that had been so broken, so complicated. Sophie was born in September. I saw photos through social media before I blocked Daniel's account. A tiny thing with dark hair and Marcus's eyes. Beautiful, innocent, untouched by the complicated history of her parents. I didn't visit, didn't send a gift. I wasn't ready. But 6 months later, when Mom had a birthday party and both Daniel and the baby were there, I went. I told myself it was for Mom, but part of me was curious. I saw Sophie in Daniel's arms and something in my chest cracked open. She was just a baby. She had nothing to do with what had happened. She deserved to be loved, to be welcomed into the family. I walked over. Daniel saw me and froze. "Can I hold her?" I asked. He looked shocked but carefully passed Sophie to me. She was warm and small and smelled like baby shampoo. She looked up at me with wide eyes and I felt something shift. "She's beautiful," I said. "Thank you," Daniel whispered. "Emma, thank you for being here." I didn't stay long, didn't make promises about future visits. But I'd taken a step. A small one, but a step nonetheless. 7 years after the divorce, Alex proposed. We were on a beach at sunset, and he got down on one knee with a simple diamond ring and asked me to marry him. I said yes. Planning the wedding was different this time. I wasn't the naive bride dreaming of forever. I was a woman who knew forever wasn't guaranteed, who knew love could betray you, but who was willing to try anyway. The wedding was small. Just close friends and family. I invited my mom. I didn't invite Daniel. Mom asked why, gently, carefully. "Because it's my day," I said, "and I need it to be mine, not overshadowed by the past, not complicated by his presence, just mine." She understood. The wedding was perfect, beautiful and simple and full of love. When I said my vows to Alex, I meant every word. And when he said his to me, I believed him. We honeymooned in Italy, and for 2 weeks, I didn't think about Marcus or Daniel or any of it. I just existed in the present, happy and whole. When we came back, there was a letter waiting at our new apartment. From Daniel. I almost threw it away, almost burned it, but something made me open it. The letter was long, handwritten, clearly written and rewritten many times based on the crossed-out words and margin notes. He congratulated me on my marriage, told me he'd heard from Mom how beautiful the wedding was, how happy I looked. He said he understood why I hadn't invited him, that he didn't blame me. He talked about Sophie, about fatherhood, about how becoming a parent had changed him, made him understand, in ways he hadn't before, the depth of what he'd taken from me, the family we could have had, the life we could have shared. He didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't ask me to reach out. He just said he wanted me to know he was sorry. Still, always. At the end of the letter, he wrote, "You're my sister, and I love you. That's never changed even when everything else did. I hope you're happy. I hope Alex treats you the way you deserve. I hope your life is everything you want it to be. And if you ever decide you want me in it again, in any capacity, I'll be here. But if you don't, I understand. I'll love you anyway." I read the letter 3 times, cried over it, showed it to Alex, who held me while I processed what I was feeling. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I don't know," I said. Part of me wants to forgive him, to let go of all this anger and resentment I've been carrying. But another part of me thinks that would be betraying myself, accepting what he did. "Forgiveness isn't about accepting what he did," Alex said gently. "It's about releasing yourself from the pain of holding on to it. You can forgive him and still have boundaries. You can forgive him and still acknowledge he hurt you. They're not mutually exclusive." I thought about that for a long time. 8 years after the divorce, I decided to meet with a different therapist who specialized in family reconciliation. Not because I wanted to reconcile, I wasn't sure I did, but because I wanted to understand if it was even possible. Family trauma is complicated, the therapist said, especially when it involves betrayal at this level. But here's what I can tell you. Holding on to anger and resentment doesn't hurt them. It hurts you. You're the one carrying that weight. So I should just forgive him? Pretend it never happened? No. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending the betrayal never happened. It means accepting that it did happen, processing the pain, and then choosing not to let it control your life anymore. But how do I do that when seeing him reminds me of everything I lost? By reframing the narrative. Yes, you lost a husband and a brother and the life you thought you'd have. But look at what you gained. Self-knowledge, strength, a new love with Alex, a life you built on your own terms. The betrayal was terrible, but it wasn't the end of your story. It was a chapter. A painful chapter, but just a chapter. I started working with her regularly. Slowly, painfully, I began to process the betrayal in new ways, to see Daniel not just as the person who betrayed me, but as a flawed human being who made terrible choices while struggling with his own pain. It didn't excuse what he did, but it made it more understandable. I reached out to Daniel on a Tuesday morning, 9 years after the divorce. I texted him a simple message. "Can we talk?" He responded within minutes. "Yes, anytime, anywhere." We met at a park, neutral territory. He brought Sophie, who is now 3 years old and looked even more like Marcus. She ran ahead on the path, chasing squirrels, while Daniel and I walked slowly behind her. "Thank you for reaching out," he said. "I didn't think you ever would." "I didn't think I would either," I admitted. "But I'm tired, Daniel. I'm tired of carrying this anger. It's not serving me anymore." "I understand. I need you to know something," I said, stopping to face him. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me, because I need to let go of what happened so I can fully move forward with my life. Okay? And I need you to understand that forgiveness doesn't mean everything goes back to normal. We're not going to be the siblings we were before. That version of us is gone. But maybe we can build something new, something different. I'll take whatever you're willing to give," Daniel said, his eyes shining with tears. "Even if it's just this conversation, even if you never want to see me again after today, at least I got to tell you face to face how sorry I am, how much I regret hurting you." "I believe you," I said, and I did. Finally, after all these years, I believed he was genuinely sorry. Sophie ran back to us, demanding Daniel's attention. He picked her up and I watched them together. Father and daughter. Family. "She doesn't know, does she?" I asked. "About how you and Marcus got together?" "Not yet," Daniel said. "We'll tell her when she's older. We won't lie to her, but we want her to understand the full story, including how much pain we caused you." "Good," I said. "She deserves the truth." We walked a bit more, talking about safer things. His job, my work, Mom's health, Sophie's daycare. Surface conversations, but they felt important. Building blocks for whatever came next. When we said goodbye, Daniel hugged me. I let him. It felt strange and familiar all at once. "Can we do this again?" he asked. "Maybe in a few months?" "Maybe," I said. "Let me think about it." He nodded, understanding that this was all I could offer right now. I went home to Alex and told him about the meeting. He held me while I cried, Not tears of sadness, but tears of release, letting go of something I'd held on to for so long. 10 years after the divorce, I was sitting in my therapist's office, talking about how far I'd come. When this first happened, I thought my life was over, I said. I thought I'd never recover from the betrayal. But here I am, married to an amazing man, successful in my career, at peace with my past. Are you at peace? Dr. Chen asked. Truly? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Not completely, I admitted. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I see Marcus and Daniel at family events and it still stings. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have looked like if they'd never betrayed me. But those moments are fewer now. Most days, I'm just grateful for where I am. That's growth, she said. That's healing. I started seeing Daniel more regularly after that first park meeting. Once every few months, then once a month, then occasionally for family dinners at Mom's house. It was slow, careful, like learning to walk after a serious injury, but it was progress. I met Marcus a few times at these gatherings. We were cordial, polite. He apologized to me once, privately, at Mom's birthday party. A real apology, not the desperate pleading from years ago. Just a quiet, I'm sorry for everything I put you through. You deserved better. I accepted his apology, not because I forgave him. I wasn't sure I ever fully would, but because I recognized that he was sorry, that he had grown too, that he lived with his own guilt and regret. Sophie started calling me Aunt Emma when she was 4. The first time she said it, my heart clenched, but then she smiled at me, this innocent child who had nothing to do with the sins of her parents. And I smiled back. I would never be a major presence in her life. I couldn't be. But I could be there for holidays, for birthdays, for the occasional visit. I could be the aunt who sent cards and remembered her favorite color and asked about school. It wasn't what I'd imagined my relationship with my brother's child would be, but it was something. 11 years after the divorce, Alex and I had our own child, a son we named Oliver. When he was born, I held him and thought about all the years I'd spent grieving the family I'd lost, the children I thought I'd have with Marcus, the life I thought was stolen from me. But Oliver wasn't a replacement for what I'd lost. He was something entirely new, a future I'd built with my own hands, with Alex by my side, from the ashes of my broken past. Mom visited us in the hospital, holding her grandson with tears in her eyes. I'm so happy for you, she whispered. You deserve this happiness, Emma. You've earned it. Daniel sent flowers, a beautiful arrangement with a card that read, Congratulations, sis. Love, Daniel, Marcus, and Sophie. I put the flowers in a vase on my bedside table and stared at them for a long time. The fact that I could receive flowers from Daniel and Marcus without breaking down felt like a miracle, a testament to how far I'd come. 12 years after the divorce, I wrote Daniel a letter, not in response to his letter from years ago, but as my own statement, my own closure. I told him I forgave him, not because what he did was okay, not because the betrayal didn't matter, but because I was choosing to let go of the anger that had poisoned me for so long. I told him I loved him because he was my brother, and some bonds can't be completely severed no matter how badly they're damaged. I told him I hoped he was happy, and I meant it, because his happiness didn't diminish mine. His life didn't prevent me from having my own. I told him we would never have what we once had, but what we had now, this careful, bounded relationship, was enough. I mailed the letter and felt lighter than I had in years. He called me when he received it, crying so hard he could barely speak. Thank you, he kept saying. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. You're welcome, I said. But Daniel, I need you to understand. This forgiveness, it's for me. It's so I can be free. It doesn't mean I've forgotten. It doesn't mean everything is okay. It just means I'm done letting what happened control my life. I understand, he said, and I'm grateful. So grateful. Present day, 13 years after the divorce, I stand in my kitchen making breakfast for Oliver, now 2 years old, and I think about the woman I was when this all began. The woman who found those messages on a Thursday afternoon and watched her world collapse. That woman is gone. She died in the aftermath of the betrayal, and someone new was born from her ashes, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who understands that life doesn't follow the script you write for it. I still have hard days. Days when I see an old photo of Marcus and me and feel the loss acutely. Days when I wonder what my life would have looked like if he'd been honest from the beginning, if Daniel had been stronger, if they'd both chosen differently. But those days are rare now. Most days, I'm just living, loving my husband, raising my son, pursuing my career, maintaining a careful, bounty-laden relationship with my brother and his family. Most days, I'm okay. Alex comes downstairs and kisses my forehead, then picks up Oliver and spins him around until he giggles. This is my family now. My real family. Not the one I thought I'd have, but the one I built from the ruins of my broken dreams. Tonight, we're having dinner at Mom's house. Daniel and his family will be there. Sophie, now 6, will probably want to play with Oliver. Marcus will be polite and distant. Daniel will be careful around me, always watching to make sure he hasn't crossed a line. And I'll be there, present and participating, because this is my family too. Complicated, broken, reconstructed, but still mine. The betrayal will always be part of my story. It changed me in fundamental ways I can never undo. But it's not the whole story. It's not even the most important chapter anymore. The most important chapter is the one I'm writing now. The one where I chose to heal, to forgive, not for them, but for myself. To build a new life instead of mourning the old one forever. I learned that love isn't always enough. That trust, once broken, can never be fully restored. That family can hurt you in ways strangers never could. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew. That I can survive the unsurvivable. That I can find happiness again, even after losing everything I thought mattered. As I watch Alex and Oliver together, as I prepare to spend the evening with my fractured, complicated family, I realize something profound. The betrayal didn't destroy me. It transformed me. And the woman I am now, scarred but strong, wounded but wise, is someone I'm proud to be. I may never fully understand why Marcus and Daniel did what they did. I may never fully forgive them, not in the deepest sense. But I've made my peace with it. I've chosen to move forward instead of staying trapped in the past. And that choice, more than anything else, has set me free.